I'd like to further our conversation in relation to Tuesday's video, in which we spoke about personal magnetism, and relate it over to this book here called Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Behrend. These are my 2022 interpretations. Many different applications for this information. What we'll find very beneficial is to integrate this information when it comes to relating with others. Now, what we're really doing with the idea of working with states of mind is recognizing that we are working with the known factors, which are expressions of the state of mind, such as words, voice tonality, body language, subcommunication, and we can take it a step further. Subtle energies, thought forms, in which he says, in your effort to possess, you will discover that the thing you most and ultimately need is to be. Always be your best self. Be. Be who you are. The outer world reflects from the state of being. As she says, no person, place, or thing can give you happiness. They may give you a cause for happiness and a feeling of contentment. The joy of living comes from within. Very nuanced. Let's look at this distinction here. You give yourself happiness, and then from there it plays out as the relationships. We call this harmonious connections, relationships, etc. Now, as you find these thinking patterns within yourself, or we could even say emotional patterns within yourself, that are revealing associations of what is not true and authentic, you can let them go. And what you'll discover is your true way of thinking, your true way of relating, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, which is authentic. You'll feel it. This would represent the being of your best self. And this plays out as relationships in many shapes and forms: business relationships, personal relationships, friendships, etc. Now, I've noticed this in my life as well, as over the years, as a result of being introduced to this information in 2004 via Think and Grow Rich, and working with the subconscious mind and autosuggestion, or something equivalent to that, I was able to encourage the thinking patterns, the ways of being that are true and accurate to how I am. I was also able to identify thinking patterns, belief systems, ideas that, for whatever the reason may be, I was identifying with them, which was creating unnecessary, convoluted behaviors in relationships with others, conversation, communication, etc. And as I let go of these thinking patterns by first identifying them, recognizing that I'm transcendent to them and that I was once perhaps identifying with them, and letting them go, I found the true and accurate thinking patterns within, the beliefs within, that were resonant to how I truly am via intuition. And as we discussed in the 2 videos that I released last week, subconscious speaks, seeing the conscious and subconscious as one. They want the same thing. The subconscious desires to be a certain way, which is authentic to who I am. The conscious mind stimulates a vision, which is a representation of that desire. And they harmonize to make it happen. It expresses. She says, therefore, it is here recommended to obtain the things which you feel will bring you joy, in accord with the joy of living. I like this, the joy of living. Recognizing that we give ourselves happiness within, which we could say was always there, except maybe a person wasn't thinking accurately to how they truly are, and started creating these kinds of illusions that it was in the outer world, when in actuality it is within, and it is expressed in the 5 sensory experience as the relationships, etc. So she works in this book with visualization. She says, the exercise of the visualizing faculty keeps your mind in order. By order, relationship, harmonious relationship between the conscious and the subconscious. And we can say the heart and mind relationship. And she says it attracts to you the things you need to make life more enjoyable in an orderly way. If you're deliberately picturing your desire and carefully examining it, you will soon find your thought and desires come and proceed in more orderly possession than ever before. Having reached a state of ordered mentality, you are no longer in a constant state of mental hurry. When I commit to a vision or goal or definite chief aim, it's important to, and I recognize this more so, having realized many goals, visions, definite chief aims, that some way, somehow, it's going to happen. I may know how, I might not know how. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, or it could be a combination, and that's fine. It shall be realized. Now, there's no need for me to rush things. It creates unnecessary emotional turmoil, overthinking, etc. I show up each day and allow the intuition to express. Allow the subconscious mind to express creatively, entrepreneurially, artistically, in whatever it is that I do, authentically. And if for whatever the reason I find disharmony in my expressions, I ask myself, what am I unconsciously saying I am too? I discovered these thinking patterns, and using a process that we outlined in Tuesday's video, a very creative, theatrical process that we can do in the mind, or any kind of process, such as autosuggestion, or any modality that works for you, we can let go of those thinking patterns or make peace with them. And then we find ourselves in an internal peace, calm, living in flow. She says, the power within you, which enables you to form a thought picture, is the starting point of all there is. In its original state, it is the undifferentiated, formless substance of life. Your thought picture forms the mold, so to speak, into which this formless substance takes shape. Visualizing or mentally seeing things and conditions as you wish them to be is the condensing and specializing power in you that might be illustrated by the lens of a magic lantern. The magic lantern is one of the best symbols of this imaging faculty. It illustrates the working of the creative spirit on the plane of the initiative and selection, or in its concentrated, specialized form, in a remarkably clear manner. If your will is sufficiently developed to hold your picture in thought and feeling, without any ifs, as in that's the way it is, the fact in imagination, simply realizing that your thought is the great attracting power, then your mental picture is as certain to be projected upon the screen of your physical world as any pictured slide put into the best magic lantern ever made. Nothing can prevent your picture from becoming into concrete form except the same power that gave it birth, yourself. Now, this is very interesting and very fascinating because I found within myself it has become easier more so every day as I was recognizing these ifs that she's talking about. But what if this? But what if that? For a moment, we can let it go and say that's the way it is. And I work with many athletes, performing artists. They do this real time in the performance. Let's see, for whatever the reason may be, they've lost their flow because of something that in the performance they reacted to, and it brought them into a different state of mind. They recognize right then and there from the feeling that they're in a different state of mind. And instantly, upon suggestion, whatever it is, autosuggestion, visualization, imagining, they bring themselves back into that state of mind, and the performance continues. A lot of times the audience doesn't even see it. Now, as mentioned in the last video, I enjoy performing arts. And I like to pay attention to the details of the different things. I'm fascinated by all the different details. I like to look at it from the perspective of the performers. I like to look at it from the perspective of being deeply engaged with the performance. I like to look at it from the perspective of those involved with the lighting, the sound. And I have a lot of fun doing this real time while I'm observing the performance. I switch into the perspectives of these different individuals. And I'm able to catch where they improvise. I could see it, for example, in the performers, their reaction to a move or something like that, in which something didn't go exactly how they planned. And instantaneously, I see them switch back into the state of mind. I love doing this. It's so inspiring to watch others do this because I see this in conversations, relationships, and in consulting and business. A client might say something in which I flinch to it. I go into a different state of mind. I recognize before I would react and it would play out all this convoluted theater from that state of mind. And as a result of working with this information, I'm able to catch it. Imagine the outcome. A solution will be found. Which proves an equation. She says, nothing can prevent your picture from coming into concrete form except the same power that gave it birth, yourself. Now let's go back here. She says, on the other hand, if your will is sufficiently developed, how do we develop the will? Working with visualization and imagination, such as what I discussed in Tuesday's video, or the exercises in the Master Key system. I'll put a link in the description to that video in which I pulled out all the different exercises, which the series of books from the Master Key system was designed to encourage vividness of imagination and revealing the divine will to stay in imagination for higher degrees of vivid accuracy in imagining. Another way that I do it is to commit. I commit to my tasks, my projects, and the things that I do each day, and I stay committed to them all the way till completion. One can call this willpower in the physical sense, although I see it as harmonious. I see the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual as one. Congruence of will. And I let go of inaccurate thinking patterns by revealing these thinking patterns via the subconscious mind work. Let go of them. It's automatic that I'm able to stay focused. I genuinely want to be there, and it's automatic. And so we have an opportunity to practice this each day. On our entrepreneurial journey, in our creative expression, whatever it is that we do, career path, relationships, etc. As she says, material form is necessary for the self-recognition of spirit from the individual standpoint. And this is the means through which the creative process is carried forward. Therefore, far from matter being an illusion and something that ought not to be, matter is the necessary channel for the self-differentiation of spirit. Expression of mind. The matter of your artistic expression. Dance, art, innovation, dance, theater. We bring that which we visualize into matter. She says, it is the working of a universal natural law. The world was projected by the self-contemplation of the universal mind. And the same action is taking place in its individualized branch, which is the individualized mind. Now, we've discussed visualization, imagination, autosuggestion over the course of the last few years from many different perspectives, and I like revisiting these works so we can find even more nuanced distinction. We can integrate this information to a deeper degree, which in its essence is identifying thinking patterns or emotional patterns that are not true to how you are. Let them go. Identify the thinking patterns or emotional patterns or combination of how you actually are. Represent them. Be them. As we go back in the beginning here, she says, in your effort to possess, you will discover that the thing you most and ultimately need is to be. Always be your best self. Because by being your best self, you give yourself the happiness, the completion, which was always there. So in actuality, through this process, which we can refer to the spiritual alchemy process, I'll put a link in the description to that video, we reconcile to the completion within all aspects of our lives, express, externalize accordingly, and perhaps the invisible power, thought forms, subtle energies, etc. So here are some distinctions. She's got a section. Things to remember in using your thought power for the production of new conditions. Number 1, be sure to know what conditions you wish to produce, clarity in mind. And if a person doesn't know what they are, we can capture the feeling, which we'll further discuss in this Sunday's Neville Goddard conversation, the feeling of ecstatic or something that implies. Because that is who we truly are, and it expresses itself in many shapes and forms. Relationships, life experiences, what a person loves to do, where they live, how they live, spawned from that authenticity within. Number 2, by letting your thought dwell upon a mental picture, you are concentrating the creative spirit to the center, where all its forces are equally balanced. Number 3, visualizing brings your objective mind into a state of equilibrium, which enables you to consciously direct the flow of spirit to a definitely recognized purpose and to carefully guide your thought from including a flow in the opposite direction. Number 4, bear in mind that you are dealing with a wonderful potential energy, which is not yet differentiated into any particular mold, and that by the action of your mind, you can differentiate it into any specific mold that you will. Your picture assists you to keep your mind fixed on the fact that the inflow of this creative energy is taking place. Also, by your mental picture, you are determining the direction you wish the sensitive, creative power to take. And by doing this, the externalization of your picture is a certainty. Number 5, remember when you are visualizing properly that there is no strenuous effort on your thoughts to hold your thought forms in place. This is done from a place of calm, ease. You may find this beneficial to do this after a meditation or a walk. Number 6, by holding your picture in a cheerful frame of mind, you release all thoughts that would disperse the spiritual nucleus of your picture. Because the law is creative in its action, your picture desire is certain of accomplishment. Number 7, the 7th and great thing to remember in visualizing is that you are making a mental picture for the purpose of determining the quality you are giving to the previously undifferentiated substance and energy, rather than to arrange the specific circumstances for its manifestation. That is the work of creative power itself. It will build its own forms of expression quite naturally if you will allow it, which can include the subtle energies in which some are not consciously aware of, which is fine because we're working with the power of the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is aware of these subtle energies. It will build its own forms of expression quite naturally if you will allow it. This is a wonderful thing. If you will allow it. If you will allow it, as we go back in the beginning here, let go of this mental hurry, overthinking, convoluted behavior in relation to what is fact and imagination. And if you find you're experiencing these kinds of things on the journey to realizing your vision, no need to shame, condemn yourself. Identify these thinking patterns or these emotional patterns and let them go as you recognize that they're not actually how you are. And so she says, you are concentrating energy of a particular kind for a particular purpose. Bear this in mind and let specific details take care of themselves. There may be no need to mention your intention to anyone. This is interesting. Why would she suggest this? Well, upon working with this information for many years, I recognize that if I have doubts surrounding that, it could play out as the theater in conversation. Other people reveal the thinking patterns that are going on within us, consciously and unconsciously. And if a person reveals those doubts in conversation, we might react to it. As a person continues down this path and they let go of those identifications with doubts in relation to their vision, they'll find that when they share it with others, they'll find that others encourage them and even are happy to contribute to that goal, that vision, that definite chief aim, because they have let go of the inaccurate thinking patterns in regards to doubt, fear, shame, etc. They honor the vision within, as she suggests here, and what I like to do is identify the thinking patterns in regards to doubts, fears, shame, emotional patterns in regards to doubt, fear, shame, anger, things like that. I can let those thinking patterns go, find the true and accurate patterns. And then what I find in my relationships and friendships and with others that I connect, when I share my goals, my visions, and what I desire, they actually encourage it. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's go ahead and conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. We can say, I recognize that my ability to be who I truly am is represented more so every day in what I visualize for myself in relationship with others. As a result, I lovingly allow others to be as they lovingly allow me to be, creating more joy, harmony, and symbolic representations of the harmony within expressed in creative form, in my art, in my invention, in my innovation, and my relationships with friends, family, personal life, business life. I therefore, to a higher degree, recognize that the completion within, the reconciliation within, which allows the subtle energies found in my invisible power, that this creative power builds its own forms of expressions quite naturally as I allow it to express effortlessly and naturally. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.